Hi besties, welcome back for another episode of Rebranding the Black Woman. My name is B Phelps, your branding bestie. And for this week, I had originally wanted to talk about motherhood and parenting while in quarantine and sheltering in place, and how difficult and challenging that has been, and to get perspectives from other moms. But I could not go through with making that this week's episode because as I'm recording this, it's the day after the verdict or non-existent verdict on the Breonna Taylor case and getting her justice. And I went to bed last night speechless. I went to bed angry. I went to bed frustrated. I don't want to say scared because I wasn't scared, but I was just feeling like I was losing hope, honestly. And so instead of talking about motherhood and parenting, I wanted to go forward with talking about ways to cope after receiving this kind of news, after having these kind of experiences, because since sheltering in place and this pandemic has started, these feelings and these incidents and people being laid to rest too soon, needlessly laid to rest, it has not stopped. The anger and the frustration towards those situations has not stopped. And I wanted to take this week to talk about how to deal and cope with that, how to channel those feelings and thoughts into something that could be healing. And so this week we're going to talk to my best friend Tondi, known as Tondi The Artist, and I just want us to both talk about how we cope while we're stuck in this house, or maybe you're working from home. For a while I was stuck at home. Well, I am stuck at home with kids, and figuring out ways to press forward during this time so that we can develop positive coping skills and good habits for carrying ourselves through to whatever this next chapter is that we're going to have to venture into. So I'm about to get started on my conversation with Tondi, so don't go anywhere. It's going to be a good time, and yeah, let's take it away.
All right, besties. I am here with my own bestest friend in the whole wide world, Tondi, and I'm so excited to have her here to have such a meaningful discussion around coping and coming up with positive habits and coping techniques. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself because I already know who she is and I think she's awesome. But take it away, Tondi.
Okay, hi loves. My name is Tondi. I go by Tondi the Artist on IG. I'm an artist, like my name says. Just an all-around creative, honestly. I dabble in the makeup artistry, illustration, paint nights, all that fun stuff. That is where my heart is happiest, and I focus a lot of what I do around personal healing and collective healing. And I'm so excited to be having this conversation with my best friend of a cajillion years. I'm obsessed with you.
Yes. We have been through ups and downs of relationships. We have had kids. We went off to school and come back, trying to figure out our careers, trying to figure out entrepreneurship. And I'm just really grateful that you're somebody that I've been on this journey with, and that I have a friend like you. And so we were originally supposed to talk about motherhood, but then I asked you, I'm like, can we please talk about positive ways to cope? Because this is just, one, it's not fair that this happened to anyone, and that it keeps happening. And two, it is very hard to cope with grief in general, but having to do it during sheltering in place and quarantining, and also, trying to be mindful of a pandemic, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. So I came to you proposing that we share some coping tactics to help other Black women, especially, who are struggling. So we're going to go back and forth sharing each of our personal coping mechanisms. So some things that Tondi has tried and some things that I have tried. Do you want to share one of yours first? Just something that is practical, because me and you are both Black women who strongly believe in therapy and holistic healing and finding, very holistic ways of coping. So can you share something that you've tried that's really worked for you?
And it's simple. It's just feeling your feelings, just like letting yourself feel how you feel. I feel like we're definitely programmed to kind of repress and suppress and not allow ourselves to be exactly where we are, but just giving ourselves permission to be sad, you know, if we're sad on any given day. One thought that I had, like, with that is what's really interesting as Black women right now, especially keeping in mind with the whole like Breonna Taylor verdict. I feel like this is one of the first times that we're all in tune with our pain behind that as a collective. And I think that that's really powerful, because when are we ever allowed to feel our pain and feel it collectively? And I feel like individually, when we're going through our healing processes, that's a huge part of healing, is acknowledging your pain and acknowledging your wounds. And I feel like because we're all in this space of acknowledging our pain, it's really key, because I feel like that means that healing is inevitable, because we're all collectively in tune with what this feels like.
As being a Black woman, we're told to just be strong. And it's like, I don't want
Right.
to be strong today. I'm in pain today. I am stressed today. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging something that is a human, natural human feeling. Like me admitting that I'm in pain or that I'm sad doesn't, it means I'm a human being. It means I have feelings, which is pretty much the reason for this series, is to show that we all are going through some of the same exact things, and that there is so much camaraderie and empathy that can be found in watching this series. So I'm really glad that that's the one you kicked it off on, because I feel like that's going to set the tone for everything else we have to say. Purging and reorganizing your home. So even if it's just the office that you're working from home in, whether it's your shared living space with you, a roommate, a significant other, with children, that's what I've been doing. Is whether it's finding some cool stuff secondhand. You know, I'm obsessed with going to Aldi every week and finding whatever it is that they have on sale. And the couch I'm sitting on now, like I bought maybe like a month ago because I found a really great deal. We did something as simple as we switched bedrooms with our older children because they share a room. And my husband and I's room was much bigger than their room. And I feel like we were just hoarding it because it was like, well, we're the adults, so we
Right.
should have the bigger space. But it's like, we literally go in there to sleep. I don't play in my room, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sitting there all day like my kids are. So keeping them in such a, in, I won't say, it's not like they were living in a box, but keeping them in a smaller room just didn't make sense, because then it was forcing them to come into our face and our space and making it very claustrophobic and, you know, other areas of the house. So switching bedrooms with them. And now who would have thought that I love my new room, like taking over their room. Like I love having
And it
excuses to go
the
in there.
energy, whole different like vibe now. With
So
like
different. The
sometimes
energy in the
it's
room.
back,
Yes.
you gotta switch it up.
Totally different. But yeah, just finding really simple ways to make your space more comfortable and calming.
Mm-hmm.
Because before the pandemic, honestly, coming back in the house was not calming for me, because it was just like constant chaos of clutter and kids running around. And I just never felt at peace. But now I feel like there are places in our house where I now feel at peace. And it really just comes from, it could just be shifting the furniture around. It could be switching bedrooms, like I discussed earlier. It does not have to be making a budget to go out and buy furniture. It could be finding stuff on Marketplace where people are willing to barter, and just re-energizing your space. Maybe that's the word I need to look for or use, is finding a way to make the place that you were stuck in to be more at peace and more comfortable, so that while you're feeling those feelings, you feel safe, right?
Yep.
You don't want to be somewhere where you're already on edge, and now I have to deal with these feelings that I don't want to feel, and I already don't want to be in this place that I'm in right now. That's a lot for a person to have to process. And so yeah, re-energizing the space that you're in can make a big difference.
No, I agree for sure. I definitely did a huge purge in my whole house, and it it was so necessary, not just like for my physical space, but also just my emotional space and my spiritual space. It felt like getting rid of all the icky shit that I didn't need. And I just filled up trash. Just the whole energy in my home is different now. And so I think that like that's a really good one. I feel like people underestimate that, the power of making sure your space can cultivate what you're trying to cultivate, right? So my second one was just doing something for the pure purpose of making yourself happy. Like, that's one thing that Black women don't remember, is that we're allowed to be happy. That's what we talked about. We're allowed to be happy and joyful and carefree. We don't always have to be walking around with all the burdens of all the world on our shoulder. We're allowed to be happy, genuinely happy. And if we need to do something to feel that feeling, I feel like that helps a lot. And and telling ourselves we deserve it, whether it's just getting really, really good food and hiding in your room and eating it all by yourself and just being that, or getting a candle because it smells amazing and every time you burn it, it's gonna make you feel good, or you know, anything. I've just bought like a whole bunch of plants that just surround me while I paint, and it's just because it's gonna make me feel good and it's gonna make me happy, and I deserve all of those things.
You absolutely, that word, deserve all of it. Because remember we were saying, we were talking before we got on the camera about how just because things suck in the world or they suck outside right now, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be happy. So because something painful and disappointing happened yesterday, it does not mean you're not allowed to be happy today. In fact, if you were able to wake up this morning and genuinely feel joy after something like that, embrace that. Do not push that aside out of guilt. Like, whose allegiance are you making to feel guilt as opposed to happiness? Like that. My second one was not forcing or guilting myself into being productive. When I'm such a busybody that whenever I have time to just chill, I feel guilty about just chilling. Like if it's just, I really would love to just binge watch 3 episodes of 90 Day Fiance. I will literally, while I'm doing that, try to force myself to be like, no, you really should be spending your time doing this. And it's like, I am allowed to sit and do nothing. Breaks are crucial. They're critical to your survival, and not just surviving, but thriving in your life is allowing yourself to have a break. Because taking a shower is not a break. Going to the grocery store is not a break. But allowing yourself to literally to sit and be idle for some amount of time to recharge or just to gather your thoughts. Like you said earlier, to just feel your feelings. You shouldn't feel pressured into doing something else to fill that time. I don't ever want to look back on my life and be like, I never made time for me. I never did anything that was just for me. Even if it's literally just binge watching a TV show, at least that was something I did for me and nobody else.
It's weird how we think it's like some badge of honor to like completely exhaust yourself to where there's nothing of you left, and there's no, you don't get a reward for that.
No, you don't. Absolutely not.
Having like a loose but structured schedule, like being able to go with the flow, but putting some type of structure in your everyday life, if that makes sense, like a loose structure. You know, things will come like today, things will come and interrupt your plans. That is life.
Yes.
But you have type of like structure in place so you don't feel like you're all over the place. And I think like the way that we do that is waking up and setting an intention for the day. So where it's like, this is what I want to accomplish, or at least, or this is what I want my day to feel like. You know what I mean? Considering the like mile long to-do list that we all have, and then protecting your time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Setting boundaries is another thing that, like, it's funny because I feel like the words that we keep using are permission and then words around like guilt and shame. You know what I mean? Like, once again, giving yourself permission to go with the flow of your feelings, of everything that's happening outside of yourself. So yeah.
I've been, over the last couple weeks, I pulled out my planner because I had abandoned the planner because this year had been, shot to hell. But I pulled out the planner and I literally put at least 3 things I'm going to do each day. So it doesn't have to be this super long. Anything I get in between it is great. But there are 3 main things I want to do. So one thing I have been trying to be consistent about is at least doing yoga 3 to 4 times a week. Not because I'm trying to lose a bunch of weight or, anything like that, but because every time I do it afterwards, I feel more at peace, like not just in my mind, but I feel it through my whole body. So I don't get to always do it first thing in the morning, but if I could do it after I put the baby down for a nap, or sometimes I do it while the baby is eating, but just in some way doing like maybe 15 minutes of that really does help me to either set the tone for the day or helps me to recharge with a break at some other point in the day. And then 2 other things are usually something I have to do. So whether it's something that has to do with my business or this series, or it's something that I have to do as far as like I need to make dinner, like I have to do today. So, and then not pressuring myself or guilting myself if I don't do anything else outside of those 3 things. Like the show will go on. And I think how you're saying, like having time to just say, hey, I didn't get all these things done. It is what it is. I got the basics and the most important things done, and I'll try again tomorrow. It's really not that big of a deal. The world is not going to end. The world's not going to end if I don't do X, Y, Z. If I don't wash 3 loads of laundry today, if I, it's not worth it with so much we have going on right now. Putting that kind of pressure on yourself, it's making life harder. Anything else you want to add to that?
I did have a thought. Because like, I think we get this like superwoman complex. I feel like the world like puts like, because we know that we have to be 5 times better, right? That's what they're saying. We have to be 5 times better just to be acknowledged. We have to be, the expectation is right here. You know what I mean? And we're always trying to like reach that, you know what I mean? And we never get there. We're never good enough, right? So I feel like it's just like, a lot of it really is just saying, fuck all that. You know what I mean? Like, I am here and I'm human and I get to be, and I don't have to apologize. Like, I don't have to say sorry because I'm not.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely. Because what I talked about last week, like setting boundaries, demanding what you deserve, and then not feeling sorry about asking for those things. Like, same with your day. If you need time, like I really had to get out of the habit of, I just want to go do something by myself for 1 hour. And I'm not going to apologize to anybody else for wanting 1 hour to myself. I feel like I deserve way more than that, but 1 hour is maybe all I can get, or that's all I have time to take, but I deserve that.
You know why? Because we're killing ourselves, like literally. Yeah. And now, and if we could just be killed in the middle of the night.
And I think that's where I was stuck at, was all the things I want to do in my life, and then someone could literally snatch my life in the middle of the night while I sleep in my own bed. And then I don't ever want to look back. I'm not saying that would happen, but it's a possibility. And I don't ever want to have my life not be a reflection of respecting myself and respecting my boundaries. I want people to be able to say when my time has come and I'm gone, I want them to be able to say that I took every opportunity to do something great for myself and for others. I loved hard. I celebrated just as hard. I want people to remember those things about me. I don't want people to remember all the times that I was stressed, all the times that I was depressed, all the times that I was, lashing out on my kids because I was just overwhelmed. Like, I don't want anybody in my life to remember me that way. I want them to remember me as someone who took care of themselves, and had no reservations or no guilt about doing it.
And therefore were able to show up for the people that they love in such a more powerful, beautiful, loving way. We do this coping and this healing not just for ourselves, but we do it. That maybe it's funny because it's like maybe that will, if you trick yourself into thinking that taking care of yourself is actually for other people, then maybe you'll do it.
My last one is unplugging. And I know when people think of unplugging, they immediately think of social media, which is great because last night when I was overwhelmed with the Breonna Taylor news, I immediately deleted Facebook because I just couldn't. It wasn't even that I couldn't handle seeing it. It was seeing some of the articles that was published about it and seeing some disgusting comments about it. Yeah. And I just could not handle the fact that there were people in this world who lack so much empathy and lack so much, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but just human decency. Like, seeing that was so discouraging and it made me feel hopeless. And so I had to just delete the app. Sometimes I delete Instagram because I could spend hours on Instagram. I love me some Instagram. And when I'm feeling overwhelmed, sometimes the scrolling does not help. It just intensifies whatever it is that I'm trying to combat. But I also mean unplugging from other things. So maybe unplugging from conversations that is not healthy for your mental state. So, because sometimes there's some people who only like to discuss negative things, who want to text you as soon as they have pettiness or have gossip. I've really had to unplug from a lot of conversation circles around gossip and making it known to people, like, if you're going to be talking about other people, just please don't tag me or include me. That's not something that I'm really, my life is hard enough as it is to be judging someone else's life who has nothing to do, with me, or unplugging from toxic people, because I personally think that this pandemic has shined a big light on people in your life who are not positive to be around, whether you're forced to live with them, whether they are calling you every day because they're bored, or whether it's maybe they want to kick it, but they're not willing to respect your boundaries as far as staying socially distant and keeping you or your family safe. People are really showing their true colors. And instead of trying to force yourself to still be around, finding ways to be around them, is force yourself to take a step back and saying, it's okay if I miss out on that event.
It goes back to, if this world is not going to protect us as Black women, we better make sure we do. And that means in all the ways, the ways we do. And it's almost like one of those things where, like, when you're in a relationship, you teach someone how to love you by the way you love you. Like, that's that on a global scale. Like, I'm going to show you how, as Black women, we're going to start loving ourselves so you can see how to do it.
But you're right, when it comes to out in the world, it has to start with us. So if I can tell people, look, I'm a human being, I'm not Superwoman, I'm not down for carrying all the burdens, I am all the way down for asking for help, that's going to teach other people how to love me, and hopefully how to love Black women in general, because we are a diaspora, as they say, of people. We all have different backgrounds, we all have different home lives, we all have different aspirations, we all have made very different choices from each other. And so just treating us like we are one, just this very vague group that has all the same basic needs, is untrue. And that's why I wanted to create this platform, is to show that we are all so different. Like, me and you are so different personality wise, but you are one of my favorite people in the whole world, and it works.
And like, we can like not only accept each other for our differences, but embrace each other for our differences. And let that, like, I just feel like what I lack, I have in a friend somewhere. You know what I mean? And I lack plenty. And I show up where they can't. And, you know, I feel, you know what I
For
mean? That
sure.
it's
For sure.
really
Because there have been
cool.
so many times that me and you have had exchanges where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'll
Yeah.
just, whether it's a situation, whether it's with motherhood, there's just been some times where I'm like, I'm done. Like I can't go on. And you have that, you hold that space for me so that I can get it
Yeah.
together. It's all about holding space. And just because you decide to find some ways to deal with grief, there are people who are going to hold that space for you until you're done. Like no one's going to leave you behind just because you are trying to get yourself together. And I feel like we have the fear of missing out when it comes to a society and success, that we put aside our own feelings and needs to keep up with the other people around us. And I'm not doing that no more personally.
I feel like it's so, one thing I think that it gets lost on a lot of us as Black women is feeling like we don't need each other. You know what I mean? That sense of like community and sisterhood is so crucial. Like we don't have to do it on our own. We
Yeah.
don't have, like, we got it all together when we don't. Like one of the most beautiful things about having you as a friend is the honesty. You know what I mean? Because when we are real about what's happening inside or around us, it frees us, because we can know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And that's
No.
all that humans ever really want, is that connection, that human connection. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's why, another reason why it's so beautiful what you're creating, and the dialogue, that the space for this dialogue that you're creating, because it is literally just saying like, I'm here, I feel this, you know, being honest and being able to connect. And that tribal sense is in our blood. That want for tribe is in our DNA. So it's been lost. And I'm so excited that like people like you and others are focusing on cultivating that again, because we need it. It's like being quarantined, social distancing, I think has, for a lot of people, I feel like it's strengthened relationships and community and made people connect in a deeper way on one hand, and on the other hand, the relationships that weren't serving us have just dissolved. Like it's actually kind of beautiful.
I I I feel like a lot of people are about to walk out of quarantine with a very different circle than they went in with. And while that may
Yeah.
be scary for some people, I think this experience, not the atrocity of the pandemic itself, but a lot of the introspective work that a lot of us have been forced to do because of it, I think was absolutely necessary at this time for whatever it is that's about to come in the next, I don't know, 3 months, within the next year. We have so many things that are going to be changing around us
Election.
because of this. Yeah, the election, like having people to really think about what's important to me. Well, this has been really good. And I'm glad that you came on and joined me. We had like 45 minutes worth of technical difficulties. We were supposed to record this like 2 hours ago. But thank you for hanging in there with me. You are ride or die. You helped me. You stayed with me until we figured it out. You weren't just like, we're gonna do this another day. We were like, nope, just let me know. Let's try this, let's try that, let's troubleshoot. So we got it together finally. And I'm just so grateful that you were willing to be a guest, and she will definitely be on for other episodes. But this topic in general, I'm just very grateful that you're the person I'm getting to discuss that with.
It was an honor, because I'm excited.
Where can my people find you? Like anybody who's watching this, where can they find you?
Okay, so Tondi The Artist, it's at Tondi_the Artist on IG. And then that's really the only place that I am.
And do you have a website?
It's TondiTheArtist.com.
Okay.
In my bio on my page. And Yeah. Come on over. It gets really
Yeah.
weird.
It does. It gets really weird and beautiful. So make sure you follow her. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm thanking you guys for actually taking the time to sit through and watch this and watching it through to the end. Let us know what value that you got from this in the comments, because we would love to continue this conversation with you there. Thank you so much just for being a part of this ride and being a part of this journey, especially with this first full episode being on after such a heavy, traumatic event like what happened yesterday. But we're just grateful that you joined us at all. So please join us again for the next episode. But in the meantime, be blessed and stay bossy. Yay! We did it! We did it! We did it! We did it!